Could this really be my daughter? My father's skeptical eyes locked onto mine as he examined the report cards spread out on the table in front of him. Raised in a household filled with respected doctors, I had always believed that stepping into their world was my unavoidable future. From a young age, therefore, I threw myself into academics, always placing among the best in my class. But to my father, who was a physician himself, being the best locally meant nothing. In his mind, real achievement had to shine on a national level to count for anything. Bombarded year after year with that impossible benchmark, my once deep admiration for medicine slowly withered away. My name is Emily, born into a long line of medical professionals. Together with my elder sister, Jessica, we were the daughters expected to continue the proud tradition. Unlike me, Jessica sailed through everything with ease and soaked up every ounce of our parents' affection and praise. Every milestone she reached was met with celebration. Every small desire was immediately granted. I couldn't help the jealousy that grew inside me. Forever compared to Jessica's dazzling record, I was always declared inadequate, even though she was 5 full years ahead of me. My failure to match her feats was treated as a character flaw. Gradually, my parents' interest in me faded completely, all their energy and pride poured into Jessica alone. Even when she lashed out with cruel words or occasional slaps during stressful times, no one believed me if I complained. Sent to an elite college prep academy, I had zero intention of actually attending university. After enduring endless emotional torment, I chose to run away from home, picking up a part-time job to survive on my own. After finishing high school, I found peace working at a resort hotel, finally free from the poisonous atmosphere I once called family. Half a year went by without a single word from them until one day my phone rang. My father's stern voice ordered me to return for the New Year gathering. No discussion, no choice. Custom demanded that our doctor-heavy extended family come together, a prospect that filled me with dread. Yet the pull of duty was too strong to ignore. I agreed to come back for just one day, squeezing it in between shifts during the peak tourist season. The moment I stepped inside, I was turned into the invisible servant, handling every preparation for the big reunion. While rushing around, I kept wondering why this responsibility always landed solely on my shoulders. Still, lingering guilt about abandoning the family calling kept me chained to their demands. I had hoped leaving would cut all ties, but my father's command proved they still considered me obligated. For the moment, I would play my part in the yearly ritual, even if it hurt. I had carefully arranged to arrive and leave the same day, using work as my shield. Yet the second I walked through the door, Dad's loud voice boomed, "You're late. Guests will be here any minute." "Why didn't you come yesterday?" He brushed off my explanation about the busy hotel season as laziness. I hurried past him into a house that felt colder than ever. Under my mother's sharp supervision, I finished every chore with no warmth or welcome waiting for me. When relatives finally arrived and the celebration began, I hovered on the edges as usual, a stranger among people who shared my blood. Their conversations revolved around hospital drama, staff complaints, and mocking patients. Listening to it all, I couldn't shake the feeling that medicine had turned them into people who looked down on everyone else. Jessica, of course, led the pack, ridiculing both colleagues and the sick with smug superiority. When cousin Christopher sneered, "So you never became a doctor, huh? What a waste." I swallowed the sharp reply on my tongue, too exhausted to fight. As soon as night fell, I slipped out of that suffocating house. Their grumbles about chores I supposedly still owed them echoed behind me, but I ignored everything and headed straight back to work. I boarded the bus still wearing the same clothes, relieved to keep the family contact to that single miserable day. For 7 long years, the pattern repeated exactly the same way, one obligatory day, then silence again. Even though I had rejected the medical path they wanted, my parents had at least paid for my schooling up through high school, though university was never an option for me. Each New Year visit became nothing more than a hollow custom, a brief pause in my independent life. When that season rolled around once more, I steeled myself for the expected summons from Dad. But when my phone finally rang, the name on the screen wasn't his. It was Jessica, calling me out of the blue for the first time in years. Nervous thoughts raced through my head as I answered, terrified something had happened to our parents. Instead, Jessica's voice burst through bright and eager. "Hey, that hot young CEO from your hotel chain, he's been everywhere on television lately, right? You must have seen it." Her excitement was impossible to miss, a total shift from her normal cold attitude toward me. I answered cautiously, confirming that yes, the company president had been in the news because of several grand openings. Before I could say more, Jessica cut in, practically shouting, "Introduce me. I've been obsessed with him ever since I saw him on screen, and he's basically hotel royalty, isn't he? He's perfect for someone like me." I was speechless. The nerve of her demand left me frozen. How could someone as self-absorbed as Jessica think a man like that would ever glance her way? She didn't even pause for breath, talking over any protest I tried to make. "You're just a regular employee, so you probably never even stand in the same room as him, and even if you do, someone as ordinary as you wouldn't catch his eye anyway." Her insults strung, but I stayed quiet while she kept going. She rambled on about how she would stay at the hotel whenever he visited the area, certain her beauty would win him instantly. Finally, I managed to speak. "Jessica, aren't you doing OMI arranged dates? It's family tradition to be married by 30. She laughed loudly, as if the idea was ridiculous. "OMI is ancient. Why settle for some average doctor when I can have the very best?" Then, as casually as ordering coffee, she added that I should cover her accommodation when she came to meet him. I felt my patience snap. She had apparently already rejected several arranged prospects, yet still expected the world to bend for her. Mention of those failed OMI meetings made me gloomy. I had just been introduced to a 35-year-old man myself, and the experience had been depressing. But her disdain for tradition didn't mean I owed her an introduction to Alexander. I told her clearly it was impossible and hung up. 1 month later, I dragged myself home again for New Year's Day, planning the usual quick escape after minimal interaction. This time, though, every relative seemed obsessed with the fact I worked at a hotel. "A hotel job, Emily? I'm shocked you can manage something so basic," Cousin Christopher sneered, while Mom pretended to be impressed that I could hold down any employment at all. Dad muttered that at least my absence saved him from gossip among neighbors. Their words confirmed what I had always known: I was the family embarrassment. Jessica's mocking laughter was the final straw. Something inside me broke. I dropped years of forced politeness and fired back. "Jessica, you're 30 now, 5 years older than me. What happens when no one meets your sky-high standards? You'll end up alone." My outburst sent Dad into a rage. He demanded an immediate apology while everyone else sided with Jessica as usual. She was still the golden child. I was still nothing. If that was how it would always be, fine. Deep down, I had once wished our family of 3, me, Mom, and Dad, could stay close forever, but reality crushed that dream long ago. Dad's shouting grew louder, Mom nodding solemnly beside him, relatives murmuring agreement. I was done breathing that air. "Who raised you to talk like this?" Dad roared. "We sacrificed everything for you." His final blow came sharp and cruel. "You're a disgrace to this family." Those words freed me. I gathered my bag, walked to the door, and said calmly, "After today, I won't come back. Thank you for everything until now." I stepped outside without waiting for a reply. Just then, the sound of an expensive engine approached. A sleek, black luxury car pulled up in front of the house. My parents and Jessica rushed out, eyes wide with curiosity. The driver who stepped out was Alexander, my company's president, the very man Jessica had begged me to introduce her to. Smiling warmly, he said, "Sorry to keep you waiting, Emily. Ready to go?" I laughed lightly. "Actually, I was just leaving. Perfect timing." I waved goodbye to my stunned family, then turned to Alexander and, loud enough for everyone to hear, added, "Everyone, meet my fiancée. We're getting married next month." A collective gasp rose behind me, Jessica's shocked "huh" mixing with my parents' disbelief. I didn't bother inviting them to the wedding. This house no longer held any claim on me. Alexander had proposed 6 months earlier, and I had poured out the whole painful story of my family that same night. He listened quietly, especially when I mentioned the terrible reputation their hospital had earned locally, something Jessica herself had bragged about in the past. As we stood by the car, I faced my pale-faced father and added, "By the way, the new hotel we're opening is right beside your hospital. While doing area research, we heard some disturbing things, multiple malpractice cases, serious scandals." Dad's expression crumbled. I glanced at Jessica. "Both of you work there, don't you? Locals say it's the worst hospital around." I felt a small pang of responsibility for the community, so I finished, "I plan to run an honest, welcoming business and help repair people's trust." My father and sister looked as if the ground had vanished beneath them. Alexander simply opened the passenger door for me without a word. We had actually met years ago, right after I first ran away. Back then, he was just a regular executive under the previous president, working side by side with staff like me. Friendship grew quickly. Later he confessed it was love at first sight. For the first time, someone noticed how hard I worked and valued me for it. When the previous president fell ill, Alexander took over the company and immediately proposed, asking me to stand by him. Since saying yes, I've thrown myself into studying business management and discovered I love learning when it's on my own terms, not forced toward medicine. As the car pulled away, Dad's voice called out the old familiar question. I smiled, rolled down the window, and answered, "I'm no longer part of this family. Goodbye." Months later, our new hotel opened to massive success. I was managing on-site from day one, and soon every room was booked solid. One busy afternoon, my parents and Jessica marched into the lobby demanding to stay. Dad spotted me and shouted my name. Before I could react, Alexander appeared and politely but firmly tried to escort them out. They refused to leave and started causing a scene in front of guests. Tired of their endless entitlement, I signaled security, and when that wasn't enough, called the police for trespassing and disruption of business. Word of the incident spread like wildfire through the local medical community. Combined with existing scandals, the hospital's reputation collapsed completely and was forced to close. Not long after, I drove past our old family home and saw a "for sale" sign in the yard. Rumors said Jessica's arranged marriage prospects had dried up entirely once everyone learned the full truth. I changed my phone number and disappeared from their lives for good. With the hotel thriving and my wedding to Alexander approaching, every part of my world is brighter than I ever imagined possible.